After being reborn, I cut off all contact with Traitor. The first thing I did was to throw away the Buddha amulet he gave me. He said he would accompany me during the 3-day holiday. But I declined, saying I had an appointment with a friend. He asked me to take out the ancestral dowry money for working capital. I lied that I had lost it and handed the jade bracelet to a friend for safekeeping overnight. In my previous life, he and I were husband and wife. But I died a tragic death in a car accident. On my deathbed, I finally heard the truth. He married me just to transfer good luck to his first love. Using the Buddha amulet he gave me as a medium, he used my good luck to fend off vampires' bad luck. In the end, I died a miserable death under the backlash of the bad luck, while the two of them spent a lifetime together. The first moment I was reborn, I took the token of love given to me by my husband, the Buddha amulet, and went to find a highly respected master. The moment the master saw the Buddha amulet, he frowned. "Young lady, this Buddha amulet is not a consecrated amulet at all. It's actually a luck-transferring talisman from the Nanyang region abroad. You originally had strong luck, but all your fortune is transferred through this Buddha amulet to ward off disasters for another person. In the end, you will be plagued by all sorts of diseases due to excessive consumption of your luck, have a miserable old age, and may even lose your life." I tightly clutched the Buddha amulet in my hand. After hearing the master's words, the last trace of my wishful thinking was shattered. Tears involuntarily welled up in my eyes. I laughed and cried at the same time, and my eyes were filled with sadness. This Buddha amulet was a token of love given to me by my husband, Traitor, and I had worn it for 10 years. I had never imagined that this Buddha amulet, which represented love, turned out to be a weapon that would take my life. In my previous life, I was run over by a car on my way to deliver food to Traitor. On the verge of death, I heard him say, "Vampire, you don't have to blame yourself too much. It's her good fortune to die for you, if she's lucky enough to survive. Phoenix Sae is my wife, and I won't dislike her. I will take good care of her in her old age." Lying on the hospital bed and hearing these intermittent words, I suddenly realized that all of this was actually masterminded by my husband. I was so angry that I died of a cerebral hemorrhage. In the last moment of my life, my unlucky life flashed before my eyes like a skim through. When I was a child, my family was wealthy. However, when I was 10 years old, my parents both died in an accident. I inherited their vast property, and with the care of my neighbors on a daily basis, my life was even better than before. It was at this time that I met Traitor. He played with me and patiently soothed me out of my sadness. I soon developed a crush on him. When I reached the age of first love, he confessed his love to me and presented the Buddha amulet as a token of love. He told me that this Buddha amulet was consecrated by a master after he kowtowed Ed 3 times and 9 times. I must carry it with me at all times. At that time, I believed him. I didn't realize that after wearing the Buddha amulet, my originally outstanding painting talent gradually faded away. My agile mind gradually became dull, and my grades kept declining. I even missed the college entrance examination because of a robbery and thus couldn't go to university. All these changes made me gradually become self-conscious and inferior. But Traitor was always by my side, saying that he liked me no matter what I was like. I was touched by his love for me. Even though there was an ambiguous savior, vampire, by his side, I didn't say much. But who could have imagined that he actually used my luck to transfer to vampire's luck, ruining my originally bright and brilliant life? Why? If he wanted to repay his kindness, why did he have to sacrifice me? I died full of resentment. But to my surprise, I was reborn. This time, I must live a wonderful life and take back my original life. I handed the Buddha amulet in my hand and Traitor's hair to the master. He likes to repay kindness, doesn't he? Then let him use his own luck to support vampire. When I got home, I felt extremely relaxed. The invisible shackles that had been pressing on me were slowly dissipating, and my mind was clearer than ever before. I decided to retake the path of the art college entrance examination and go to university, picking up my painting hobby again. Although I was already 23 years old, the age when one usually graduates from an undergraduate university, I didn't think it was too late. After putting away my notebook, I was in a great mood and cooked a delicious meal to reward myself. However, just as I sat down, I heard the sound of the door opening. I looked up and saw Traitor and Vampire coming back. Then I remembered that in my previous life, Traitor used the excuse that Vampire was physically weak from saving him and couldn't eat outside food. The silly me became her cook, cooking for her in different ways every day. She had a light taste and liked green vegetables the most, while I was just the opposite. I not only had a strong taste but also liked big fish and meat. As a result, during those more than 10 years, I never had a delicious meal at the dining table. Even so, Vampire still nitpicked from time to time, saying that I didn't cook with my heart. Every time this happened, Traitor would always support her and scold me for being petty and jealous for no reason. Now that I think about it, I was really humble in my previous life, being an Annie for others for more than 10 years. Why are there so many spicy dishes on the table? How can Vampire eat this? Traitor glanced at the dishes on the table and asked me angrily. I didn't even raise my eyelids. Enjoying the spicy food, I said, take it or leave it. I was just about to tell you. From today on, I'll only cook for myself. You two can do as you like. What's wrong with you this time? Traitor frowned and scolded me instinctively. I looked up at him. I originally wanted to argue with him, but suddenly I thought it was pointless. There were still half a year left before the art college entrance examination. I must be admitted to university and have nothing to do with him anymore. I quickly swallowed the last bite of food, got up and left the dining table without even giving Traitor a glance. Traitor looked at my unusually cold attitude and suddenly felt a little panicked inside. Vampire gently comforted him beside him. It's just a meal. Sister-in-law might be in a bad mood today. We can just go to a restaurant outside. It's the same. I'll apologize to you for having to eat outside food this time. I'll talk to Vampire tonight and ask her to stop being so jealous. In the evening, I was reading books for the college entrance examination. When I heard the sound of footsteps, I immediately hid the books. What do you want? I looked at Traitor coldly. Traitor looked at the indifference in my eyes. The words he originally wanted to question got stuck in his throat. He felt a little guilty for no reason. He coughed softly and said, "The Research Institute has a 3-day holiday. Where do you want to go? I'll accompany you." This was really surprising. He actually said he would accompany me? I remembered that, in my previous life, all of his free time was occupied by Vampire. He took Vampire to travel, while I was always at home doing endless housework. I once begged him to take me out to play, but I always got the answer, "I'm busy. Maybe another day." Gradually, I probably understood that he actually didn't want to take me out to play. Maybe he was afraid of losing face, saying that a highly educated person like him married a wife who only graduated from high school. No need. I've made an appointment with companion to go shopping. I casually made up an excuse to dismiss him. The things I couldn't get in my previous life, I don't need them now. I want to go to bed. If you have anything else to say it quickly. I was eager to read books and urged him. Traitor hesitated for a moment before slowly saying, "Vampire's medicine is about to run out. I want to borrow your jade bracelet to pawn it and get enough money for her medicine first. You know, all her illnesses were left over from saving me when we were young. I can't just stand by and do nothing. Anyway, you don't wear that bracelet. It might as well play a greater role." I laughed directly when I heard his words. In my previous life, he also made such a request, although I was reluctant. I couldn't resist his coaxing and moral coercion with the favor of saving his life. I gave him the bracelet. But the thing that was supposed to be pawned appeared on Vampire's hand the next day. Thinking of my spineless appearance in my previous life, I slowly smiled and casually said, "It's lost." "How could it be lost? You can't even take good care of your ancestral dowry. What else can you do?" Traitor blurted out instinctively, with a strong sense of disgust in his tone. I raised my eyebrows and said meaningfully, "I've had bad luck in the past 2 years. I always lose things for no reason. Don't you know that?" Traitor's face showed a moment of uneasiness, and a trace of guilt flashed in his eyes. He sighed and said, "Well, if it's lost, it's lost. I'll figure out a way to get the money for vampires' medicine myself. Oh. I have one more thing to tell you. The experiment in a research institute is at the final stage. I may conduct a closed experiment in the next 6 months. Vampire will be with me as a specially appointed staff member. 6 months. My eyes lit up. It's just right that he's not here. I can focus on my review. Okay. I see. I won't think too much about it. I suppressed my excitement and replied calmly. That night, Traitor didn't stay at home to rest. He rushed out in a hurry. The next day, he went to the laboratory with Vampire. At the last moment of the research institute's closure, Vampire said to me in a taunting tone, "Sister-in-law. With me here, Traitor won't look at other women. I'll keep an eye on Traitor for you. So you can rest assured." I smiled but didn't say anything. Half a year passed in a flash. After the master modified the Buddha amulet, my photographic memory and painting talent came back. Although it was only half a year, I successfully participated in the art college entrance examination. The teacher who tutored me estimated my score and vowed that I would definitely be admitted to university. After the exam, I cleaned the house, took away all my things, and then went to find Traitor with the divorce agreement. The research institute had just been on lock. I walked in unimpeded. Standing outside the door, I heard a few researchers whispering, "Traitor is really pitiful. He's been pestered by an ignorant woman. He and Vampire are a perfect match. There's no way. Traitor said his wife is trying to take advantage of the favor of saving his life, and he can't refuse." I felt cold all over. I didn't expect Traitor to distort the truth and smear my reputation outside. I closed my eyes tightly, forcing back the tears, and a fierce light flashed in my eyes. I originally just wanted to part on good terms. But now, I suddenly changed my mind. Section ed article truck as far as I remember correctly before my death in my previous life. The child of Vampire is Traitors. With this child here, I want to see how they can justify that they are innocent. Filled with anger, I kicked open the door. The people in the room were greatly startled and all looked towards the door. I looked at Traitor. He was holding Vampire in his arms, and the two of them were in an intimate pose. Vampire's lips were a little swollen. "What are you doing? Don't you know how to knock before you come in?" Traitor felt a little guilty and instinctively scolded me. I sneered. "Knock? Give you time to cover up the traces of your affair? Sister-in-law, what are you talking nonsense about? I just regard him as my brother. Don't think too much. Don't you feel how kind Traitor is to you on a daily basis?" Vampire looked helpless but magnanimous said, as if coaxing a disobedient child. I ignored her and looked intently at a girl. "I heard you say outside the door that I'm taking advantage of the favor of saving someone's life? That I separated this pair of lovers? Isn't that the case? You used the favor of saving his life when you were a child to coerce Traitor into marrying you. Otherwise, how could a professor like him take a fancy to a woman like you who didn't even go to university? Look at yourself in the mirror. Do you think you're worthy? Shut up." The girl's words and Traitor's angry scolding sounded almost at the same time. But the girl obviously held a deep grudge against me. Before anyone could react, she spilled out all the lies in a rush. "I'm demanding repayment for the favor I did." I laughed until tears streamed down my face. Traitor's face instantly turned extremely sullen. He shook off Vampire's hand, walked up to me, and tried to hug me to soothe me. But I slapped him across the face. I looked at him coldly and said softly, "Traitor, you're really a hypocrite." Wiping away my tears, I straightened up, stood upright, and spoke clearly and distinctly. "Now all of you listen carefully. Vampire is Traitor's savior. And I was Traitor's first love. But now I'd rather have never met him. I don't know what he told you, but the one who meddled and became the mistress is Vampire. Not me. Moreover, the sponsor of this laboratory is me. Not Vampire." With just a few words, I shattered the rumors that Traitor had spread outside over the years. No one noticed that the speaker in this laboratory was on. The dozen or so researchers in the room opened their mouths in surprise, and their eyes kept wandering back and forth among the three of us, all looking shocked. Having her false face exposed, Vampire's lips turned pale, and her body swayed as if she was about to fall. Traitor anxiously caught her body. Looking at her bloodless face, having fulfilled with sigh. He instinctively roared at me, "Are you satisfied now? How many times have I said that there's nothing between me and vampire? Why did you make such a big fuss about these things? Haven't I been good enough to you on a daily basis?" The other researchers were shocked by his outrageous words. But I sneered and said, "Are you sure you two are innocent?" Ben let out a low sigh. "For that child of vampires. Do you dare to have a paternity test with him?" The moment my words fell, Traitor's face turned as pale as paper. And his lips quivered as he couldn't speak. "How could you know?" The researcher standing in the corner looked at Traitor in disbelief. What had they just heard? Could it be that the child of senior sister vampire was actually Traitor's? Hadn't it been said that they were innocent? Innocent with a child? Suddenly, the looks of many girls towards vampire changed from admiration to disgust. "I'll explain this to you later. Right now, vampire's health is the most important thing." Feeling the contemptuous gazes of others, Traitor's face turned red with embarrassment. He spoke in a flustered manner, wanting to escape from this suffocating room. He had never expected that the matter he had done so secretly would actually be exposed by me. I kicked the door shut. "Want to leave? Sign the divorce agreement. I was blind all these years, wasting so much of my youth on you. From now on, I just want to live my own life." Traitor stared at the divorce agreement that was handed to him, his face changing drastically. He blurted out, "Divorce is impossible. I won't divorce you. I truly love you. Phoenix IA." I sneered sarcastically. "Love me? Love me so much that you slept with another woman and had a child? Your so-called love is really unique. I didn't sleep with her. That child was born to reproductive technology." Traitor explained seriously. "At that time, vampire had just divorced. She cried and told me that she didn't want to step into marriage again. But she wanted to have a child of her own. She begged me to donate a sperm to her. She promised that she wouldn't pester me. I thought vampire was really pitiful. So I agreed. That child of vampires can't be considered my child at all. Are all the men in the country dead? Do you have to donate your sperm?" A female researcher hiding in the corner muttered softly, rolling her eyes so hard that they almost went to the back of her head. "But I mind. And no woman would not mind this matter." I said calmly, "You'd better sign the divorce agreement now. Otherwise, having fulfilled was, if I reveal something else, you definitely won't be able to bear it." As I spoke, I mouthed two words silently, "Buddha amulet." Traitor understood my lip movement. In an instant, his forehead was covered with beads of sweat the size of soybeans. Despair flashed in his eyes. After a long moment of stunned silence, he finally managed to speak with difficulty, "I'll sign." His hand holding the pen trembled as if it weighed 1,000 cat ties. He signed his name with a tremor. Finally, having fulfilled my sigh, "I'm free." I looked at his signature and let out a long sigh of relief. I carefully put away the divorce agreement, turned around, and left without any hesitation. Before coming here, I had already booked a train ticket for 6 o'clock in the evening, and the destination was Beijing. When I got home, I picked up my small bundle and left this place where I had lived for several years without hesitation. "Phoenix IA, do you really want to separate from me?" Just as I stepped out of the gate, I saw Raider standing there in a sorry state, looking at me with red eyes. His eyes filled with sadness. It was as if I had wronged him. Looking at his appearance, I just thought he was crazy. "Not leave? Do you want vampire to suck up all my good fortune?" I retorted, clenching my hands tightly to hold back the urge to kill. "When did you find out?" Traitor explained in a flustered manner. "I had no choice either. Vampire saved our family. She was born with bad luck and couldn't live past the age of 20. I couldn't just watch her die like that. I would have a guilty conscience. The master who gave me this idea said that you were born with strong good fortune, and it wouldn't matter if a little was transferred, and it could also save vampire's life. You see, you've been fine all these years, haven't you? Moreover, since I married you, I will definitely take good care of you and won't let you live a lonely and miserable life for the rest of your life. Shut up. If you say another word, I really want to kill you." I became angrier and angrier as I listened. and squeezed out these words through my gritted teeth. Your savior. Why should I use my good fortune to repay the favor? Why don't you transfer your own good fortune? Looking at his speechless appearance, I sneered sarcastically. So you also know that transferring good fortune can be harmful. You're reluctant to sacrifice yourself. So you sacrifice me instead. I really had the worst luck to have met you. I could have been admitted to university and engaged in the painting industry that I like the most. But because of your selfishness, I became a housewife with only a high school education. What can you use to compensate me for my originally bright and brilliant future? With your half-hearted sincerity? The more I spoke, the more excited I became. It took a long time for me to calm down. I tried to tell myself that in this new life, I should live out my own style instead of getting entangled with such a scumbag. We won't see each other again in the future. After saying this, I walked towards the train station without hesitation. Towards my own future. But what I didn't tell him was that I had tampered with the Buddha amulet, and he would also be backlashed by the good fortune for doing such immoral things. His second half of life was doomed to be chaotic and miserable. After taking the train for 2 days and 1 night, I arrived in Beijing. Clutching the 500 yuan in my pocket, I went to seek refuge with the relative of teacher Wang according to the address he gave me. I was perturbed when I knocked on the door, wondering if the other party would look down on me. Unexpectedly, it was a kind woman who opened the door. The moment she saw me, she pulled me and said, "You're Finalizing, right? I've heard of you from my sister. Don't worry and stay at my place. Just treat it as your own home." Looking at her gentle face, my tense heart gradually relaxed. After staying for 2 days, I completely integrated into their family. Then I started looking for a job and began my working life. The tuition fees for studying art are not low, not to mention the prices of various paints are incredibly expensive. And the inheritance left to me by my parents had already been mostly spent over the past few years as I kept subsidizing Traitor. All I had left were some things that couldn't be touched. After my good fortune returned, my luck was incredibly good. I quickly found a job teaching children how to paint. It not only provided meals but also paid well. But one job wasn't enough to cover my annual tuition fees. So I found another job and busily rushed around every day. I was tired but fulfilled. After working hard for 2 months, a week before the start of the semester, I finally saved enough money for tuition fees and some living expenses. With the hopes of 2 lifetimes, I stepped onto the campus of the university. At first, I was worried that I might not get along well with my classmates because of my age. But soon I put my mind at ease. The students in the university are not that idle. They don't care at all how old you are. Those who can be admitted to Peking University are all 1 in 100 geniuses. They're all eager to absorb knowledge. And who has the time to gossip about such things? I lived very comfortably in the university. My outstanding talent soon caught the attention of the teacher. Looking at my paintings, there was full of amazement in her eyes. "You are the person with the highest painting talent that I have seen in the past 10 years. I'm very glad that you didn't give up on painting, even though you're already 23 years old. Remember, it's never too late to start learning. Finalizing, you have to work hard. Don't give up on diligence just because you have high talent. As long as you work hard, I believe that you will definitely become a world-famous painter." I looked at the painting I had done. The picture was very neat. In a gloomy forest, a white dove was flying towards the sun. With simple elements and no flashy techniques. It was full of vitality. Just like me. I had finally broken free from the cage and started anew. For years passed in the blink of an eye. In my sophomore year, I was accepted as the close disciple of Tichoyu. With his help in making connections, I soon became somewhat famous in the painting circle. One of my paintings could be sold for a 5-digit price. With this stable income, I no longer had to work part-time in my spare time. I could devote myself fully to painting. In the year I graduated, I completely made a name for myself in the painting circle and even held my own painting exhibition. After graduation, I followed Teacher Li's advice and stayed at the school to teach. After all, I no longer had a family. The place where I am is my home. In my daily life, I taught classes and occasionally took students out for sketching trips. My life was pleasant and leisurely, and the days with Traitor gradually faded from my memory. But I didn't expect that he would actually come to the school to find me. Phoenix IA. There's a man who says he's your ex-husband and wants to see you. Do you want to let him in? Traitor. In the art studio. I put down the paintbrush in my hand and chewed on this name, having a feeling of being in a different world. Let him in. After thinking for a while, I slowly opened my mouth and said. Not long after, I saw a dirty man who was as thin as a hemp stalk enter the art studio. At first glance, I almost didn't recognize that he was the talented Traitor who had been appointed as a professor in his 20s. Phoenix AA. Please save me. When Traitor saw me, he knelt down with a thud and said, his face streaming with tears and snot. From his intermittent narration, I learned that the argument between him and me that day had been broadcast through the loudspeaker, and the whole research institute knew that he was a morally corrupt scumbag. His competitors took this opportunity to report him, and he was directly fired by the research institute and became unemployed. He really has real talent and learning. Logically speaking, it shouldn't be difficult for him to find a job at the same level. However, he used the Buddha amulet to steal my luck and transfer it to vampire. Karma caught up with him, and his luck suddenly turned very bad. He encountered setbacks everywhere in his life and work. Coupled with the backlash of the Buddha amulet, he quickly became destitute. Seeing this, vampire took his last bit of money and fled with their son. He quickly realized the problem and found many masters, hoping they could help him. But every master shook their heads and said, this is retribution, and we won't get involved in such karma. You'd better do more good deeds and see if you can offset it. Or find a woman with strong luck and marry her. That might barely protect you. With no other options, he could only come to me and beg me to save him. Listening to his miserable experiences over the past few years, I couldn't suppress the upward curve of my lips. I'm happy to see you so unlucky, I said lightly. Moreover, you've hurt me so badly. How do you have the nerve to ask me to help you? Traitor pleaded. Please. Phoenix EA. You haven't gotten married all these years. You must still have feelings for me in your heart. I promise you that after we remarry, I will be devoted to you. We've been together for more than 10 years. You can't really just watch me die, can you? Yes, having so found my ancestral. We've had a relationship for more than 10 years. You were heartless enough to give me that Buddha amulet to harm me. Why wouldn't I be heartless enough to watch you die? I retorted. Then I pressed the doorbell on the table. Soon, two security guards appeared at the door and dragged Traitor out. Don't let this person enter the school to look for me in the future. He's my ex-husband. And he came here today specifically to harass me, I said seriously to the security guards. Don't worry, Phoenix IA. We won't let him appear in front of you again. Hearing that Traitor had harassed me, the two security guards' faces turned cold, and they were much rougher in their actions. Hearing that I refused to help him, the last glimmer of hope in Traitor's eyes went out. Just like me in my previous life, I picked up the paintbrush again and started painting seriously. I won't get married again because I pour all my love into painting. Love is irrelevant to me, and my future is destined to be bright and brilliant. The end separation line. The following content is used to make up the word count and is not included in the main text after being reborn. I cut off all contact with Traitor. The first thing I did was to throw away the Buddha amulet for protection that he gave me. He said he would accompany me during the 3-day holiday, but I declined, saying I had an appointment with a friend. He asked me to take out the ancestral dowry money for working capital. I lied that I had lost it and handed the jade bracelet to a friend for safekeeping overnight. In my previous life, he and I were husband and wife, but I died a tragic death in a car accident. On my deathbed, I finally heard the truth. He married me just to transfer good luck to his first love. Using the Buddha amulet he gave me as a medium, he used my good luck to fend off vampires' bad luck. In the end, I died a miserable death under the backlash of the bad luck, while the two of them spent a lifetime together. The first moment I was reborn, I took the token of love given to me by my husband and the Buddha amulet, and went to find a highly respected master. The moment the master saw the Buddha amulet, he frowned. Young lady, This Buddha amulet is not a consecrated amulet at all. It's actually a luck-transferring talisman from the Nanyang region abroad. You originally had strong luck, but all your fortune is transferred through this Buddha amulet to ward off disasters for another person. In the end, you will be plagued by all sorts of diseases due to excessive consumption of your luck, have a miserable old age, and may even lose your life. I tightly clutched the Buddha amulet in my hand. After hearing the master's words, the last trace of my wishful thinking was shattered. Tears involuntarily welled up in my eyes. I laughed and cried at the same time, and my eyes were filled with sadness. This Buddha amulet was a token of love given to me by my husband, Traitor, and I had worn it for 10 years. I had never imagined that this Buddha amulet, which represented love, turned out to be a weapon that would take my life. In my previous life, I was run over by a car on my way to deliver food to Traitor. On the verge of death, I heard him say, "Vampire, you don't have to blame yourself too much. It's her good fortune to die for you. If she's lucky enough to survive, Phoenix IA is my wife. And I won't dislike her. I will take good care of her in her old age." Lying on the hospital bed and hearing these intermittent words, I suddenly realized that all of this was actually masterminded by my husband. I was so angry that I died of a cerebral hemorrhage. In the last moment of my life, my unlucky life flashed before my eyes like a fleeting scene. When I was a child, my family was wealthy. However, when I was 10 years old, my parents both died in an accident. I inherited their vast property, and with the care of my neighbors on a daily basis, my life was even better than before. It was at this time that I met Traitor. He played with me and patiently soothed me out of my sadness. I soon developed a crush on him. When I reached the age of first love, he confessed his love to me and presented the Buddha amulet as a token of love. He told me that this Buddha amulet was consecrated by a master after he kowtowed 3 times and 9 times. I must carry it with me at all times. At that time, I believed him. I didn't realize that after wearing the Buddha amulet, my originally outstanding painting talent gradually faded away. My agile mind gradually became dull, and my grades kept declining. I even missed the college entrance examination because of a robbery, and thus couldn't go to university. All these changes made me gradually become self-conscious and inferior. But Traitor was always by my side, saying that he liked me no matter what I was like. I was touched by his love for me. Even though there was an ambiguous savior, vampire, by his side, I didn't say much. But who could have imagined that he actually used my luck to transfer to vampire's luck, ruining my originally bright and brilliant life? Why? If he wanted to repay his kindness, why did he have to sacrifice me? I died full of resentment. But to my surprise, I was reborn. This time, I must live a wonderful life and take back my original life. I handed the Buddha amulet in my hand and Traitor's hair to the master. He likes to repay kindness, doesn't he? Then let him use his own luck to support vampire. When I got home, I felt extremely relaxed. The invisible shackles that had been pressing on me were slowly dissipating, and my mind was clearer than ever before. I decided to retake the path of the art college entrance examination and go to university, picking up my painting hobby again. Although I was already 23 years old, the age when one usually graduates from an undergraduate university, I didn't think it was too late.